Thank you. All right. So today we're going to be talking about all things LinkedIn. Why it is important, what is it, why we should use it, and a little bit about networking, and then why networking, why we should use networking on LinkedIn specifically, and showing up as professionals on LinkedIn, right? And then working on LinkedIn with all these core sections and these little things that you may not even know exist on LinkedIn. Okay. Hopefully people that are joining here today already have LinkedIn and maybe are actively using it. If you're not, don't worry. That's why we're here hosting this workshop to walk you through why you should use LinkedIn and how you can effectively utilize it, right? So LinkedIn is basically a social networking platform, but specifically designed for the professionals. So you know how Instagram is more visual and it's more artsy and people use it for inspirations. Facebook is more so for like your family connections, but LinkedIn is for professionals. So this is a platform you're going to be using to grow professionally in your, advance in your careers, network with other professionals in the field, right? So it helps us grow our network again, showcase our experience. We can explore opportunities because we can search for jobs on LinkedIn and we can engage with people in our field and build our personal brand. So essentially, again, it's a digital space for professionals to connect, to collaborate, work with each other, and advance our careers. Okay, so why are we going to use LinkedIn? LinkedIn, as you can see here, it's a leading platform for us for professional networking and career development, right? There's over 1 billion users on LinkedIn. So that means there are people that you know, people that you don't know, the alumni, your classmates, professionals in your field, or professionals in other fields that maybe you want to connect with. And you can do that very easily because everybody's reachable on LinkedIn, right? You can go in and take a look at somebody and learn where they work, what their background is, and maybe you see something that you like or something that you find, inspirational, and then you can reach out to them and connect. And not only you are looking for people and you can find people on LinkedIn, the companies and the recruiters are also finding you on LinkedIn. So we have it here. It says about 72% of recruiters actively use LinkedIn to source talent. So that means not only, again, you can find people, other people can find you. So that really means LinkedIn is going to be your online resume, right? It's a tool that is working for you 24/7 because the internet never sleeps. And that also means that your name should be searchable, your profile, your presence online on LinkedIn should be properly put together so that you're really portraying professionalism on LinkedIn. And then we can talk about all of this in a little bit. We'll walk you through each section. Okay, so now that we talked about what is LinkedIn and why you should use LinkedIn, let's shift gears a little bit to talking about what is networking and why we should network. So networking is something that happens every single day, whether you know it or not, whether you're actively doing it or not, right? You're interacting with people to exchange information and develop professional or social context. So you are maybe working with your academic advisors, career coaches like us, you're networking, you're building that professional contact, your network again. And why we should do this is because this is going to bring you opportunities. This is going to help you build your connections with people that you may not know before. This is going to help you gain industry knowledge and insights and build your brand, which in turn helps with your professional and career development, right? And networking is very, very important. I know we have a lot of international students in this workshop, and from my experience too, sometimes depending on what culture you come from, networking can be a hard topic to approach, especially if you're thinking about social hierarchies or hierarchies at a job, it might be intimidating to you. So we do really recommend start small. You can start with your professors, your faculty and staff that are around you, like us, like Ashley and Jessica, and really build your network from people that you know already. And then later on, you get, more comfortable and then start reaching out to people and expand your network. Again, that's going to bring you all these opportunities that you never knew existed before, right? Okay, so because we are going to be professionals on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a professional platform, it is very important to be mindful of what you're putting out there and how you're representing yourself on the platform. So we have here, you have to have that updated profile with clean, professional looking, post or pictures on your platform. Make sure that everything that you're putting out is very professional. And again, this is something that they see your online resume, right? So you have to be mindful of, am I representing myself as a professional, as a trustworthy professional on the platform? And the way you communicate with other people on the platform also matters. What you're messaging, what you're commenting on other people's posts, maybe the DMs that you're sending, right? All these matters. And again, whenever you think of LinkedIn, we want you to think of professionalism. So everything that you do should be a little bit more professional. For example, Simone, let's say, posted one of her accomplishments on LinkedIn, and then I might go in and comment something on Simone's post, maybe, congratulations, well deserved, right? What this does is it builds my connection that I already have with Simone and puts me at a good spot. But not only that, it's going to bring you up in visibility to other people. So other people that Simone has connections with that I might not even, know of, they're going to see my comment, they're going to see my profile, and that's one way you can build your connections on the platform as well. And it's always good to have these little interactions with people and build that professionalism, showcase your professionalism on the platform in the way that you communicate with people and the way you represent yourself. Okay, now let's go a little bit more into LinkedIn profile essentials. So we have here what we call core sections and recommended sections. So Simone will later go into more in depth about what each of these sections means. So I will give you a little bit of an overview. Core sections is something like your profile picture, the banner that you have behind your profile picture, your very first introduction, your headline, your bio, right? And your about section where you're putting a paragraph about who you are, what you do. And then we have, of course, your education section, your experience, your skills. These can be built off of your resume. So whatever you have on your resume, you're going to start putting things in and then just expand a little bit more because you have more space and you're not limiting yourself to a page resume template, right? And all of these are considered core, so they're very essential. And to have that proper LinkedIn profile, to build that, you need all of these. And on top of these sections, there's something that we call recommended and additional sections. This is where your projects come into play. You can attach your certificates, your licenses, any of your maybe published work, your articles, your honors and awards, maybe recommendation from other people. These are not too necessary, but it is good to have. And why won't you take advantage of this free space to showcase more of your skills and accomplishments, right? Again, this is going to give you that, credibility for a professional. Okay. So going more in depth about each section, let's start with getting your URL on LinkedIn. I don't know if you guys already know this or if you already have it on your resume, but you can go get your personalized URL on LinkedIn to put on your resume. And I can't really show you now, but when you are on your LinkedIn profile, go to that top right corner where your little profile is. When you click on that, you'll see the Edit My URL button, and then you can copy paste that onto your resume. And again, it's very important to link your LinkedIn URL on your resume because this is how the recruiters are able to find you. Okay, now moving on to pictures. We can clearly see that the pictures on the top line are professional. Some of the reasons why are because they're looking straight at the camera, they're smiling, they're dressed proper, they're dressed professionally, and nobody's, doing anything weird. They're in frame. Everything is good, right? They're warm and inviting. They look friendly. But compared to the pictures at the bottom, you can pretty much see that it's not very screaming professional, right? There's somebody that looks very sad, somebody that's not even paying attention to the camera, maybe looking on their phone. So these are the little things, little nuances that you have to pay attention to when you take a professional photo. And again, one thing that you're going to keep hearing from me when I talk about LinkedIn is professionalism. So always think about from things that you're putting out, your posts, your comments down to your profile picture. Am I representing my best self, my professional self on LinkedIn, right? And if you don't have a professional headshot already, the Career Center actually offers a free photo booth that you can just come in and use to take a headshot. It's located at our main Career Center location, which is at the lower level of the Melville Library, next to the zebra path. You don't need an appointment. You can just stop by during our drop-in hours, Monday through Friday, 10 to 4 for our fall and spring semesters. Just simply come in, tell somebody that you're here to use the headshot photo booth, and you're free to use it. The only thing I would recommend is come in, dressed properly, dressed professional, so that you're actually using this for a professional purpose. But this is a really great resource. If you didn't know already and you don't have a profile picture, please come take your picture here. Okay. Sticking to our topic of pictures and profiles, another picture that you will be utilizing is the LinkedIn banner. This is something that goes behind your profile picture on LinkedIn, and pretty much the very first thing that people see when they come to your page, right? So we have two examples here with Dylan and Lay. You'll see a slight difference, and we'll talk about the differences. But Dylan's one, it's a picture of the cruise, the sunset, the water. It works. It looks good. It works well with his profile, the blue background that he has. But it works because one, he works at Royal Caribbean Group. So that's shipping and cruises, right? So this pretty much says about his job, where he works at, and it works. It's great. But on the other hand, Lay's banner, she does not have anything about her work or her career at all, right? But instead, she has something about New York. She has pretty pictures, like Pinterest pictures, Instagram pictures of New York. Again, it works well. The colors work well with her picture, her profile, everything together looks professional. It looks good to me, but it doesn't say anything about her career, and that's fine. So this LinkedIn banner is your chance to be a little more creative, to show more of your personality, your interest, as long as you keep things professional and, pretty nice looking, aesthetic to the eye, it's acceptable. We have, coaches pictures of like the Stony Brook campus, or I think Jimmy has a picture of New York that he personally took.
I have my hometown.
Oh yeah. So it can tell a little bit more of who you are and not just your career, because we're also humans, and we have other interests and things that are happening outside our careers, right? So this is your chance to be a little more creative, a little more personable. And if you need help because maybe you're not too creative and you need help, I recommend Canva. So Canva, you don't need to pay for it. If you are paying for it, great. You can use more features, but for a LinkedIn banner, you can get the free ones. And I think now they have AI tools that you can say, build me a LinkedIn banner of, New York, of, I don't know, coffees and bagels, whatever it is. If you are a computer science major, maybe something about coding or computers, but it'll give you really nice looking banners. So definitely utilize Canva. Okay, now more into the serious stuff. Um, so after our, nice looking profile pictures and the banners, the next thing that people see, very first things that people see are your headline and your bios. So your headline should be pretty, straightforward, what you are, who you are, what you're doing now. So an example here is Master's in Business Administration student at Stony Brook University, VP of Investment Club, aspiring financial analyst. That works pretty straightforward, nothing too in detail, because we're going to save that in-depth kind of explanation for the About section. So moving on to the About section, this is where you're saying who you are, what you do, a little bit about your background, maybe your top skills and interests, and where you're going. That might be, if not the most important one, because you always want to tie everything back in and say your next step. You don't want to leave people hanging. You want to give people a chance to reach out to you, to connect with you, to talk about something that you want to do next, right? So I'm not going to read it out for you, but please spend, a minute to read through the example here. But the first paragraph is basically saying who they are, what their interests are, right? And what they're good at. And the second paragraph is about their background, maybe a little bit about their skills and accomplishments, their experience. And then tying everything together at the last paragraph, they're saying where they want to go. They're looking for roles in data-driven problem solving, type of area. So always tie everything back in with something about where you're going next. Again, you want to give people a reason to talk to you, right? And if you are looking for internships, talk about that. That way people know when to reach out to you and what for. Okay, so now I'm going to pass it on to Simone to talk you through about more core sections.
Hi everyone. So I'm going to go through each of these core sections. I have a lot of links in this presentation. So afterwards, when Ashley sends me your names, I will share the presentation with you all so that you can open the links. But the next section is experience. And this is so important that you put in all those experiences that you could not put in on your resume. And why that matters is sometimes, especially for graduate students, you might be looking for jobs that are level 1, level 2, and they're counting your years of experience. All right. And so if they're only counting your years of experience in an industry resume, which we've told you guys from the Career Center side, an industry resume should be 1 page. I'm not talking about a CV for academia. I'm talking about a resume, right? If you are a student that had a different pathway, you studied in your home country, or you studied in the US and you took a break and you worked, and then you came back and did your grad school, like master's or PhD, then you can go up to 2 pages, but usually it's 1. And then a recruiter can only look at that page and they will literally count the months of experience and say, do you match a level 2 position that many of you might want? Or do you just match a level 1 position, which is 1 to 3 years? So it's important that all your experiences are on are on LinkedIn. Everything matters. So what matters? Full-time positions, internships, unpaid work that you've done, like volunteering, research that you've done in a lab, forage industry simulations, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. Even job shadowing. If you had like a week of job shadowing, add that. Any services you've offered. So if you've done projects or you've actually got your own company and you're offering services to people, put that in. If you had a career break, it's very important that you put that in if you perhaps are older student. Not saying you've had a career break, but then you can literally just choose the word career break. Then they know, okay, you haven't been doing nothing during that time. It was just a break. So Now, these are students' examples that I have worked with that have given me permission to share. And you can see the student did an internship, electrical design engineer. So you have to give a very clear wording of what your title was during your internship, during being a graduate assistant, a teaching assistant, whatever you were, right? Or in your full-time career. Be very mindful of the words you use. Sell yourself. Don't just say electrical design. If you were an engineer, you put that in, right? If you were a data analysis, put in the word data, not just analysis, right? Then you want to link the company you worked at. It doesn't matter if that company is in your own country. You add the company's name, then hopefully what happens is the company's little profile will pop up, the profile they've saved to LinkedIn, and eventually all the skills that you added to that experience will start popping up at your skills section. And the more skills, the better, right? It's up to you how you want to explain that experience. So the months are there. I can count that this student did an internship from May to August 2025. And although this doesn't look exactly like your bullet points in your resume, you can either copy your bullet points directly from your resume onto LinkedIn, or you can just summarize it like the student did. But what was very important here below, he added all the skills he learned during his internship. You must please remember to add those skills, soft skills and technical skills. And then graduate teaching assistant, very simple, one little sentence, that's fine. But again, the skills are added. The time frame, that student was a graduate teaching assistant, and it's linked to Stony Brook. So the more experiences, really the better for you on LinkedIn. Okay, education, make sure that you have all the colleges listed, your undergrad and your grad. If you've done a minor, remember to add that minor for your undergrad. If you've double majored in your undergrad, make sure you add that. If you have a specialization, right? Your GPA. And then what's also important is all activities, right? As undergrads, sometimes we have part of student orgs, or as a graduate student, you have professional organizations that you are part of. List them all. A lot of students list if they've been on the dean's list, if they've been on like presidential scholarships, if you've got a fellowship, you put that all in there. If you've got an award, put it in. Now, this student chose to write coursework below his education. That is fine too, but what would be more helpful is when you add the recommendation, the recommended section, coursework, so that the employers can look for all the courses you've done, not just graduate courses, but maybe undergraduate courses that will be helpful for that position you're applying to. And again, as you can see, the student added skills below his education list. So all the skills that you're learning. Right. Now, the skills section will pop up at the bottom of your LinkedIn profile, but you really want to link all the skills to any section that you are going to complete, right? So you can see there, the student has over 100 skills to show. And what is very nice about showing all these skills is your peers, your supervisors, your professors, people like me that might come in, like myself and you, that might come in contact with you as career coaches. If we know that you have a skill, and we've seen you, then I can endorse you. Endorsements matter because the more people, as you build your professional network and you grow, and right, like your tenures in your industry, the more endorsements you have, the more recruiters know you're actually telling the truth and people are vouching for you that you really can do that. And maybe then you can be put in a leadership position, example, in the future. So don't not put your skills in all the sections. And you can keep adding skills as you go along, right? Because you receive those endorsements. And then again, if you can see in the pictures here, two of the skills that I've shown now on here, are linked again to electrical design engineer at Port Authority in New York and New Jersey. And then the other skills are linked to lab work as well as programming languages and stuff, right? As a graduate research assistant. So please be very mindful to add your skills. It's very important that recruiters see that because sometimes they can't find the skills on your resume. And we've had recruiters tell us that I cannot assume a student has a certain skill or has done certain coursework because the interviewing process needs to be fair. So if you don't list it on your resume, on your cover letter, or on LinkedIn, they can't assume anything, right? And they might not call you for interview. So this is really a part where you can sell yourself. Right, relevant coursework. Lots of students don't put that on their LinkedIn, but I found it helpful. I know of students that have gotten interviews because they listed more coursework on their LinkedIn than what they did on their resume. So all you would do, this is a recommended section. So you would go to edit profile, you'll go to recommended sections, and then you'd add coursework. I want you to give the full name first, and then you can list the code. Remember, recruiters, just like staff members at Stony Brook that are not in your department, we don't know what codes mean. And we even say this to students on resumes. It doesn't help you give me the code. I don't know what that means. So make sure you give the full name of the subject and the course you've been doing, right? And then list it. Is it associated with Stony Brook or your previous university? Because it really shows what you know, even without experience. And it helps find those keywords for the recruiters, right? And it connects your academics to real world, and it highlights your specialized knowledge. So this would be super important for you. The example I have here is from our graduate intern that works with applied science and research students, as well as tech and engineering students, and she's listed them all, and it looks really great. Okay, the next section. Right, recommended section, super, super important if you're in the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences. If you're not in the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences and you have done a project, maybe you're part of the vertical integrated projects on campus, add that. Maybe you're part of a professor's lab and you're doing a project, you can add that. But this is super important for CIS students, right? Because it demonstrates your technical skills, right? And it highlights your experiences. If you are a student going into academia, it would also be important to list all your research projects, right? PhD students, all your research. Independent means it's a project that you've done that might not be linked to that professor. You could have done that as part of a friendship group or just a one-on-one, or maybe you started off the project in class, but then you took it further in your own time. It's okay if the professor gave you some tips and maybe is your mentor, but if you're really doing something on your own, it becomes an independent project. And you need to show that on your resume. You need to write the word independent because recruiters love to talk about those ones, especially in the technical part of the interview process. Yeah, so list all your projects. But then what is super important is, again, the date or the date you did the project, right? If you only did it in 1 month, that's fine. Then you just write June 2025. Or then the months that you did the project, because they can count like experience. If they have to count again and see how much experience you have, they can list that as you working on certain simulations or certain like technical skills, right? Lab work that gives you that experience. Again, you can explain, you can copy and paste from your resume the bullet points on here, but you want to list the skills that you learned on this project. And then you want to link. It doesn't matter how you link it. I know like computer science students have a GitHub, but many of us don't have GitHubs. So you can link example or portfolio website if you've done that as a PhD student, your published papers that are linked to the project, right? You can upload a PDF. I know many students that like do a 2-page PDF. They put photos in there and they explain the whole process with images. That's fine. And then you just upload the link. You can even upload a PowerPoint or a YouTube video. But it's very helpful to recruiters because recruiters might not be necessarily your hiring manager, right? But they just need to find evidence for the hiring manager. And they're that first part of your process. So you want to make sure you have enough evidence for them to go to the hiring manager and be like, this student has enough experience and skills that match the job they're applying to, right? Okay, and then what you can also do here is there's a section called featured section, and I've put a link in here for you guys to read later. But you can link an experience to your featured section. You can link a project. You can link a publication to your featured section. And what that means is that that section, that little piece, will automatically go to the top of your profile. So it will first be your About Me section, and then it will show featured. And sometimes it's helpful when you're applying to certain industries or a certain job that you feature something so that it catches the recruiter's eye first. So just be mindful of that feature option as well. Publications are specifically if you're a PhD student. I know master students also have publications. I would recommend you add that section so that people can see how you contributed to your research field. It's very important, right? It builds your academic and professional standing, and it helps recruiters understand, right, your research focus, and also then perhaps count how many years of experience do you have more than the other candidates that are applying to the positions. And you would just link your publication there, and you would explain what it is all about, the title of your publication, and when you published it, and in which published paper you published it, like our grad student here at the Career Center. And then this is something I can open and read more about and say, oh my, you don't just have the basic skills and understanding, you've got in-depth understanding. I definitely want to interview you. Right. Licenses and certificates are super important in the US. The why I say this is because we keep on hearing again and again recruiters telling us they want to see if students are thinking forward, right? Are they upskilling themselves? And if so, are they upskilling themselves with either free certificates that we give online as a company or just anything else outside of the classroom, right? Which is going to help them be better leaders or just a better employee in the workspace. So the examples that I gave is IBM was on campus on the 6th of November, right? They gave these AI artificial short courses in AI, but they actually have longer courses that can give you a credit badge. I've added the link here for you guys later to look at. So maybe you want to do an AI badge. You can put that on your LinkedIn, and then perhaps you apply to IBM for whatever reason in the future. All of a sudden, that recruiter sees, wow, you've actually learned and you've done something our company gives to offer, right? Has to offer, sorry. So you're interesting. I definitely want to interview you. They really love to see what have you done with their company, right? Maybe you want to apply to Amazon and you do a free course with Amazon. We have something called Forage, right, at the Career Center. The Forage landing page is just on the Career Center's webpage under online tools. If you go there, there are many different work simulations you can do and tasks in the day of a specific Fortune 500 company. So, for example, this is Data.com. They've given a Forage simulation called Software Development Job Simulation. You do that, you finish all the tasks, you get a certificate. You can put that on LinkedIn. You can see there this person's got a certificate, and it even tells you how to write the experience in your resume. So, lots of times when international students come onto campus, and they have to wait for their CPT. This is something you can do to upskill yourself, right? You can put on your resume with US companies, and I'll send you that link as well. Then, example, the Career Center has something called ACES badges. That's for mostly soft skills. So maybe you feel in your time, being a grad assistant with your professor or in a research lab, you have learned communication skills, you've learned career skills, you've learned leadership skills. You can just fill out a form on our website and say, I've done these skills. And the person that is in charge of this will look at everything you've done and the months or the weeks that you've worked on that skill, and then they will give you a badge. It again is a creditly badge. You put that on LinkedIn, right? And it's linked to your name for life. So these are very helpful things you should be thinking of, licenses and certificates. And then the last piece I'll talk about is recommendations. It is helpful when you leave an experience. Like if you leave your professor's lab and you graduate here, right? Or you've been supervised, right, in an internship or in a research opportunity, in a research and development opportunity, wherever that was, right, at a startup, to ask your supervisor or your mentor to leave your recommendation. Okay. And how you do this is they first off need to be friends with you. There needs to be a connection on LinkedIn. Otherwise, you can't send them a recommendation. So you first want to make sure you connect. And then you just literally go again to edit, send recommendation to that person. They get a message. You can see over here my example. You just put in the person's name. They get a message and say, hey, Yoon asked you, Simone, to write her recommendation. And then I'll go ahead. And once I write that recommendation, it will appear on LinkedIn. Just a note, you can't delete that person's recommendation afterwards. So it can't just be a friend. The person needs to be really serious because remember, as you said, this is your professional profile. This is what recruiters are looking at. They first of all, your resume needs to go through the applicant tracking software, right? ATS friendly, goes through the AI. Then a recruiter is going to scan your resume, and then they're going to go onto your LinkedIn. Okay. Networking on LinkedIn. It's very important to make connections on LinkedIn. The more connections you make, the better your network grows, right? So make sure you try connect with your professors, any instructors that you've worked with, your supervisors, classmates. Example, if you meet someone from the career center and you connect with us, we have a lot of people in industry that are connected to our profiles. So then instead of a person being a third connection to you, they become a second connection. And you know what? If someone is going to send me a cold message and I don't know you, I'm first going to look, are you a second connection or a third? If you're a second connection, I'm going to see who's the connection. And if I say, hey, I see your connection with you, I might feel that I want to message you back and help you. But if you're a third connection, I really don't know you. So it's important that you grow your network and try and get over 100 connections, like in the first year, and then 200 connections in the next year as you grow, right? I think it took me 2 years to get over 500 connections. Yourself, you?
I can't remember.
You can't remember, okay? So it is possible, and you want to connect with people in your industry as well, right? Employers, any employee you've met at the job fairs, right? At conferences, you want to connect. And I'm not sure if you guys know how to find Stony Brook alumni. I have linked it here. I'm quickly going to show you. Let's give it a second.
Can I still see the...
Ashley, can you guys still see the screen? I hope
Yes,
so.
we see your
Yes,
LinkedIn
you can
now.
see. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So here's Stony Brook. I just went to Stony Brook to people, right? Alumni, and then you can go and you can put in, I'm just going to put in the word computer science. Oops, sorry guys. Let's see who all has computer science in their profile. And you can see 4,000 alum have computer science in their profile. I can then go and look which companies they work at. 74 work at Amazon. I open up Amazon. I know Amazon right now is the #1 H1B company hiring international students. So now I'm going to go and start looking, are there any connections? This person is a second. This person is a second. This person is a second. So maybe I want to connect with them, right? And this is how you build your connections, but you have to leave them a message, right? Or maybe you're applying to a job and you just want to let them know that you are a Stony Brook student, that you have applied to one of the positions there at Amazon, and you would just love to chat to them about industry, right? So that's a way you can look for alumni on LinkedIn, right? But now what's very important is you need to send a note to someone that you don't know. If a Stony Brook student sends me, adds me, I first look, are they Stony Brook? And then I usually accept. But I know a lot of professors don't accept you if you don't leave them a note. Okay, so make sure that you, if it's a professor, leave them a note and say, hi, I'm in your class. Please, can you connect with me, right? If it's an alumni, find a connection. Are they in the same major? Are they in the same club, right? If they haven't, they're not at the same major, they're not in the same club, but you're interested in them because they are a certain position at the company, then you need to research them a little bit, find out where do they work, like what department in that company, what do they do, and then you can send them a short message. But remember, if you don't have a paid version, it can only be 200 characters where you have a connection. And that's actually more professional. Not if you just connect without a note, many people they might accept you, but they don't know who you are as a professional. You want people to know who you are as a professional, right? So you can then just go and add note. Don't send without a note. To your friends, you can send without a note, no problem. However, above someone's name or next to someone's name, they also have a little tab called contact info. If you can look at the bottom right screen here of my presentation, you can sometimes they have their email addresses there. So before you send a note, go see if they have their contact info listed. It could be a company's name. I haven't seen many people with cell phone numbers, but go there first. If you don't see a Gmail or a company email, then send a message with a note. And that's how you will connect. If you just don't want to go there at all and you just want to use the messaging feature, it's on the top bar, right next to the job feature and notifications. You would just simply, again, open up the messaging feature, write in the person's name. But what's very important is that you have to introduce yourself, okay? If you have the paid version, then you can write more context and connection. Otherwise, you just introduce yourself and your call to action. Why are you connecting with this person? And remember, you just have 200 characters. So this is basically 198 characters here. Hi, I'm a computer science master's student at SBU. Now, we don't like acronyms really, but if it's an alumni, they will understand what SBU stands for, right? I admire your company's work and would love to hear about your role. Would you be open to a quick 20-minute chat? That's something that you can do. If you have a paid version, then you can add a little bit more details about yourself, right? If they are also like a student within your, department and stuff, then you can, like example, computer science can then just become CSE because they'll understand it. So make sure whatever language you use is language that that person will understand as well. Right. And then what's very important is you can treat LinkedIn as a business card on your phone. So make sure you download the app so that when you go to events on campus that have employers, or if you go to job fairs or any conference whatsoever, you can use this. So first off, you just open the app, you go to the search bar. If you look at step 2, there's a little icon on the right that looks like a QR code. If you click on that icon on the right, then your QR code for yourself will pop up, right? And then you would download that to your photos, or you can share the code immediately. I like downloading mine to my photos the day of that I'm going to go to employers, right? I mean, I do have my Stony Brook business card, but this is a way I can quickly link with people, right, on LinkedIn. And once you've done that conversation, don't walk away empty-handed. You either ask for their business card that has their professional email on it and phone number, which you might need. And if they don't have that, then ask them, hi, can I please connect with you on LinkedIn? Right? And you're just doing that, number one, to build connections. Number two, if you've applied to positions, you can get back to that person. Very, very important. So do this for yourself when you go and you meet employers, that you can start building your network. Right, and that is basically our presentation for today. Getting started with the Career Center, we can help you with your profile for LinkedIn. You can visit our website, make an appointment with myself as the International Career Coach with Yoon. She's a career coach for tech and engineering, but she's also doing an MBA, so she knows to help the business students, right? Join a career community. I feel a lot of grad students don't know about career communities. We have 8 at Stony Brook. You just go to your Handshake profile, go to career interests, choose the career community that fits it's not based on major, just fits your interests. And what starts happening is you get bi-weekly emails on internships, job opportunities, as well as events happening on campus where employers are coming to campus or then off campus, which would be helpful for you, right? Because you're networking. And that's our email address. We're located in 3 spaces. The main one is in the Melville Library next to the Zebra Path. We also have a space in Harriman Hall, room 102, close to where Jessica is sitting. And then we also have the Center for Service Learning and Community Service, which is in the SAC. And I forgot and then Behavioral Sciences on the 7th floor. So we are really spaced everywhere around campus, and you can just pop in anytime between 10 and 4 for a drop-in. And then, yeah, that's the presentation. Thank you.